In the 16th century, a man with a gold-hooped earring and a little goatee picked up a quill and wrote some of the finest sonnets the world has ever seen. 500 years later, a man with nothing better to do sits down with a microphone and tries to work out what the hell that bloke was going on about. Welcome to the final couplet. Hello there, and welcome back to the final couplet with me, Theo Cowan. It's episode 42. That is a lot of episodes, isn't it? Well done if you've listened to all of them. That would be crazy. But I respect you massively for doing so. If you've just dipped in and out of random episodes, good for you. Well done. You just thought, hey, Sonnet 33 is my jam. I want to hear that. What's that about? That's cool. I've got some pretty exciting news to say, and I'm going to say it right now. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. I've got some guests lined up in a few episodes, and there's some pretty cool guests. They are funny, intelligent, and incredibly good looking. Not like that matters. But I only have good looking guests. That's one of my stipulations for being on the podcast. You have to be good looking. Otherwise we won't have you on. Which I think is fair, because, I only like to talk and listen to good looking people. That's just me. Anyway, that's quite enough waffle for today. Let's have a look at Sonnet 42, shall we? If you remember, in Sonnet 40 and 41, Shakespeare has been in this crazy little love triangle where he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, really, because his mate or / lover is sleeping with his wife / girlfriend, and that is obviously a bit of a nightmare, and he doesn't really know what to do about it, because in the last two sonnets he's sort of forgiven the mate and the wife, but is clearly still a bit pissed off, obviously. So let's find out what 42's all about, shall we? That thou hast her, it is not all my grief, and yet it may be said I loved her dearly. That she hath thee is of my wailing chief, a loss in love that touches me more nearly. Loving offenders, thus I will excuse ye. Thou dost love her because thou knowest I love her, and for my sake even so doth she abuse me, suffering my friend for my sake to approve her. If I lose thee, my loss is my love's gain, and losing her, my friend hath found that loss. Both find each other, and I lose both twain, and both for my sake lay on me this cross. But here's the joy, my friend and I are one, sweet flattery, then she loves but me alone. Well, that is Sonnet 42. And look, I did try and make that as clear as possible. I don't know if you managed to understand any of it, but because there's a lot of, thee and you and me and she and everyone. And it does get a bit confusing, and I got a bit lost myself in there. But we're definitely along the same theme as Sonnet 40 and 41, aren't we? He's still talking about the love triangle, and he's still seemingly sort of weirdly okay with it. He's sort of a bit angry, but then is actually like, oh, it's fine. He's doing a lot of mental gymnastics in this one to try and get around the fact that his best mate / lover is sleeping with his girlfriend / wife. I guess he's trying positive thinking, isn't he? He's going, it's not actually that bad when I really think about it and break it down. It's actually fine. But is it Shakespeare? Maybe it is. Maybe he is actually fine with it. Let's try and work out what the hell Shakespeare was going on about in this one, line by line, shall we? That thou hast her, it is not all my grief. So here he's saying that you have her, that you've had sex with her, my girlfriend, well, mistress. I feel like we don't really use mistress much anymore. Bring it back. Bring it back. Is it okay to say mistress? I don't know. This is my mistress? It doesn't sound great, does it? Definitely sounds misogynistic, even though maybe it isn't. Anyway, back then they probably weren't thinking about being misogynistic. Was it even a word then? Anyway, I digress. What I meant to say is, he's saying the fact that you slept with my girlfriend is not the only reason I'm pissed off. I'm hurt. And yet, it may be said I loved her dearly. So that's not the only reason I'm hurt, though, let's be honest, alright? It has been said that I loved her a lot. I did love my girlfriend. You bloody hope so. She's your girlfriend. That she hath thee is of my wailing chief, a loss in love that touches me more nearly. So wailing chief, I think is sort of crying, wailing. Wailing, he's been wailing. So what really makes him cry a lot and wail is that she has you, the recipient of the poem, my mate / lover. So I am a bit annoyed that my mate is with my girlfriend, but what really gets me more is that my girlfriend has my mate now. And that's a real loss. Loving offenders, thus I will excuse ye. Obviously they like to use ye back then instead of you, which is nice. You know what? If we're not bringing back mistress, let's try and bring back ye. That's a good one. How are ye today? I feel like some dialects in England still use ye. Can't think of any off the top of my head, but there are some. I've heard it. Anyway, he's saying, you two bloody love criminals. Here's how I'm going to excuse you. So what's about to come is the mental gymnastics that I have done to try and excuse the fact that you two have been sleeping together. Are you ready to hear it? Thou dost love her because thou knowest I love her. So this is to the recipient of the poem. He's saying that you only love her because I love her. You know that I love her. That's the only reason you bloody love her. You wouldn't love her otherwise. If you just bumped into her in the street, you wouldn't even bat an eyelid, mate. And for my sake, even so doth she abuse me. And vice versa. I mean, she only loves you because I love you. Suffering my friend for my sake to approve her. So she's suffering all of your crap. You know, maybe you're bad in bed and she's suffering that. She doesn't actually want it. But she's only doing it because you're my friend. If I lose thee, my loss is my love's gain, and losing her, my friend hath found that loss. So if I lose you, my girlfriend wins. That's a win for her. And if I lose her, you will have found what I've lost. So that's a little win for you. Both find each other, and I lose both twain, and both for my sake lay on me this cross. So this is just saying both of the people that I love have found each other, and I lose them both. And that causes me pain. Both of them loving each other does cause me pain. So that was a bit of a confusing way of saying I'm not particularly happy with the situation, isn't it? I mean, he is sort of trying to rationalise it, but at the end of the day, your mate is sleeping with your girlfriend, so you're not going to be particularly happy about it. And he's not just your mate though, is he? Because you clearly love him more than a mate. So the mate that you love is now sleeping with your girlfriend, and that does suck. But now we have the final couplet. But here's the joy. My friend and I are one. Sweet flattery. Then she loves but me alone. So he's saying, but here's the thing that brings me joy and makes me happy. All right, you ready? my friend and I are one person, which is amazing. Sweet flattery, brilliant stuff. So it turns out that my girlfriend can only love me. She loves me alone, all right? And that is an absolutely wild statement. He's done this before in one of his previous sonnets. I was going to say podcast then. Don't think Shakespeare has a podcast. He's done this before in one of his previous sonnets where he's said that he is at one. He is the same person. I think it was in one of the later 30s when he was writing this sonnet to his lover and saying, look, we're basically the same person, so we can't actually be together because we'll just become the same person. So we should be apart so that we can be separate beings. And this is a similar thought. But here he's happy being one being with the recipient of the poem, with his mate. He's happy being one being. He's saying it's actually brilliant because we are the same person. We're so similar that actually my girlfriend just loves me because you are me. How do you like that? It's a weird sonnet, this. I feel like Shakespeare is kind of having a bit of a mental breakdown and you just want to go back and give him a good old hug, little cup of tea, have a sit down and let's chat this through. Because if you heard your friend talking like this about the situation that's happening, you would want to be a bit like, it's okay to be angry and pissed off. That's all right. What they've done behind your back isn't great and it's not particularly moral. So it's okay to be frustrated. You don't need to try and rationalise everything, Shakespeare. But poor old Shakespeare, he's in a difficult position here because his mate is sleeping with his girlfriend. He loves his mate. He also apparently seems to love his girlfriend. So hell of a love triangle. This is a very, and I just realised, love triangle. Triangle, 3 points. How many sonnets have we had about the love triangle? 3. Oh ho ho ho. Shakespeare, you've done it again. That's pretty good. I wonder if any intellectuals out there have thought about that. Well, if they haven't, you heard it here first on the Final Couplet podcast. That is very clever to have worked out from me. Giving myself a... Can you hear that? That's a little pat on the back for myself. Right, let's put this to our story, shall we? And what's happened? It's become quite hectic, hasn't it, this story? So the love triangle at the moment is John Donne, the famous writer, all right? He's sleeping with Shakespeare's ex-wife slash still wife slash still lover because they've got back together because she helped break Shakespeare out of prison after he accidentally slash on purpose killed a waiter. So Shakespeare has found John Donne sleeping with his wife. He's obviously pissed off about it. He's just read to them Sonnet 41 explaining that he's a little bit gutted about the situation, and we're going to find out their response and how Sonnet 42 fits into that. Shakespeare finishes reading Sonnet 41 to his ex-wife and John Donne. John Donne and Shakespeare's ex-wife look at each other. They nod slowly and they turn to Shakespeare and say, I think we're in love, in unison. And Shakespeare looks at them both and says, but you can't be. I mean, how long has this been going on? And also, I just saw you with Ben Jonson. You were having sex with Ben Jonson. And Shakespeare's wife looks at John Donne and says, sorry, you were having sex with Ben Jonson? And John Donne says, well, yeah, but you said we could have a bit of an open relationship. And Shakespeare's wife said, okay, yeah, I did say that. And John Donne says, yes, thank you. I mean, I don't love Ben Jonson. It's just nice having a bit of sex with him. If that's okay with you. And Shakespeare's ex-wife says, yeah, that's fine. And Shakespeare says, look, sorry, can we just get back to the topic, please? You're my wife. And Shakespeare's ex-wife says, ex-wife. And Shakespeare says, well, that's murky, actually, because we've kind of got back together, haven't we? And then Shakespeare's ex-wife says, well, have we? Because you said we need to have space. And Shakespeare says, don't complicate it, all right? You're my wife, and this is my best mate / we have slept together. I hate to say it. And Shakespeare's ex-wife says, sorry, you've also slept with... What's going on here? You slept with John Donne as well? And Shakespeare says, yes, we have slept together. And John Donne says, yeah, we have slept together, but it was nothing. We're just friends, I think. I don't know if I really love you as much as you love me. And Shakespeare says, I can't believe this. What, so you two you're just happy to be together now? And they look at each other and smile. And John Donne says, honestly, Shakespeare, I've never been happier. And Shakespeare says, I'm sorry, this is absolutely mad, this situation. And I never thought I'd be in this scenario, to be quite honest. And I'm very upset, but also I still love you both. What am I going to do? And he starts crying. And they both pat him on the back. Shakespeare's ex-wife offers him a hanky, which he blows his nose on. And John Donne says, look, I think you need a little bit of time to reset. How about you have my little holiday cottage in the countryside? And from there you can clear your head. And Shakespeare says, okay, thank you, but I'm still mad at both of you. And John Donne hands Shakespeare the keys to his holiday house, and Shakespeare departs. Outside, Shakespeare's horse is waiting, with his cat, Mercutio, on the back. They're good friends, the horse and the cat. Shakespeare has named his horse Couplet, after one of the characters that he's been writing about recently. So Couplet and Mercutio are waiting outside for him. Mercutio, of course, sat on Couplet's rump. Shakespeare wearily mounts Couplet, and they gallop off. They gallop and they gallop for many miles without stopping. Shakespeare finally arrives at John Donne's little holiday cottage, which is lovely. I think he rents it on Airbnb for an extortionate rate. As soon as Shakespeare gets inside, he thinks, sorry, what the hell am I doing? I've just let my wife and John Donne just be with each other. I'm an idiot. God, I wish I hadn't come to this holiday house now. He just tempted me in and it sounded really lovely at the time. I know what I need to do. I need to write a sonnet to John Donne, explaining exactly how I'm feeling. So he sets to work writing Sonnet 42. When he's finished, he calls over Mercutio and says, hey, can you deliver this to John Donne? And Mercutio looks up at him as if to say, well, Couplet's outside and he's obviously a horse, so he's much quicker. I mean, we're in the middle of the countryside. That will literally take me days. But obviously he can't speak. But he's trying to convey that in his eyes. And Shakespeare says, hello, can you take this to John Donne, please? And wearily, Mercutio takes the letter in his little paw, puts it on his back, and starts walking all the way from John Donne's holiday cottage to John Donne's townhouse. It takes him 5 days. He's lost a lot of weight. He's had absolutely no food and no drink. Finally, he claws his way up to the steps of John Donne's townhouse and knocks on the door with his little paw, mustering up his last bit of energy. John Donne opens the door and sees Mercutio there. Mercutio thinks, oh, finally, someone that can give me some water and food. John Donne looks down at Mercutio, takes the letter from his back and says, shoo, hey, get away, hey, get away from here, and closes the door on Mercutio. A single tear runs down his little whiskered cheek. Inside, John Donne opens up Sonnet 42 and goes, oh, bloody hell, not another sonnet from Shakespeare. When is he going to stop writing these and start writing plays again? This is getting crazy. He puts on his little spectacles and reads. Sonnet 42. That you now have my girlfriend isn't the only reason I'm sad, though obviously I loved her loads. What makes me cry the most is that she has you now, and that loss of love hurts me more. You two are criminals in love, but here's how I'll rationalise what's going on. You, mate, love her because you know I love her, and she loves you for the same reason, suffering all your shit for my sake because you're my mate. If I lose you, it's a win for my girlfriend, and if I lose her, my mate has found what I've lost. Both my mate and my girlfriend find each other and I lose them both, and that really sucks. But here's what makes me pretty happy. My mate and I are one person. That's awesome, because it means my girlfriend only loves me. Wow, that story got quite bleak, didn't it? I mean, I feel most for Mercutio out of all those characters, if I'm being quite honest. I think he's been treated terribly. And, you know, soon I hope he stands up for himself. Maybe that'll happen next week. Anyway, until then, bye!